Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's 63 degrees today.
Not being feeling.
Yeah.
Well, it's not gonna be winter, that's for sure. I feel like the snowiest March on record.
I know.
Human folks.
Thank you, everyone, for your patience. We're resuming the meeting here. Next up is for the go of the cause. The public may address the board. We'll start with letters. Let's see that we have a couple.
Yes, I have two emails. Hello, I am Jessie Marshall, a senior at Lake Placid High School. This will be my third year of track and field. I want to say thank you for keeping the Lake Placid track team only students from public schools. Once we heard the news that Northwood might join us for track, all the players were up in arms. We do not want them to join our team. We have sufficient numbers and it is as it is, and if Northwood joins us, many of the public school students would be outcompeted by the athleticism of Northwood. If you let Northwood join the Lake Placid track team, the team would be better, but Lake Placid students wouldn't be on it. I know I stand for many of my fellow runners when I say thank you again for keeping our track and field team only for public school students. Sincerely, Jessie Marshall. And the next one is from Ethan Cash. Hello, I am writing to thank the board for making the decision to reject the offer to merge track and field with Northwoods. When I first heard the news of a potential merger, I was very concerned about what that would mean for our public school team. I think that it would be unfair for Northwood's kids to have 1 foot in Northwood athletics and 1 foot in Lake Placid athletics. Northwood students already get numerous incredible athletic opportunities through Northwoods. Northwood students joining track and field would also be a negative thing for the Lake Placid school athletes themselves. Track and field is an event-based sport. While Northwood may benefit some of the more experienced athletes, making the team more competitive, it is not fair to those student athletes who want to get into the sport, as the competition for events would be far greater. The merger with Keene is great because we are both public schools. However, Northwoods is a private school with no relation to public school systems. The athletic association we compete in is called the New York State Public High School Athletics Association. Emphasis on public high school. Thank you for making the call to reject the merger. I have talked to both Lake Placid and Keene track athletes, and I can say with confidence that a majority of the athletes are in favor of the board's decision. Thank you. Sincerely, Ethan Cash.
Okay,
And I do not have any other emails.
thank you. Anyone present? You have your own little private section coming up, so. All right, information for the board. We will reply to the comments that were made at the last board meeting after we get all of the, as you can see, there's still comments coming in about that. So once that's all in, we can respond and add information. That brings us to our presentations. We have Mr. Nemec here, who's going to do a presentation on flag football.
Sure. I just have something to pass out as well.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. And thanks for having me. I'm getting my feet under me. First year athletic director and dean of students. So thanks for having me speak about proposal for offering flag football here this spring for female athletes. So I just wrote up just some background or context here. So I was approached later fall, early winter on flag football. There was a good student interest and enthusiasm. There's also a coach on board, Mr. Brian LaValle, who's a tech teacher here. Just some context and background. The flag was offered last year. I don't know fully if it was CBAC. I guess just in terms of sanction, like I think schools ran it sort of like an independent opportunity and seeing where it would go. So Saranac kind of led the way. That was the team to beat within the CVAC, Beekmantown, Saranac Lake, and other schools as well. Two MVAC schools were participating, both Keene and Skern Lake. I watched the first game down in Keene. I was really impressed by the fast-paced and the enthusiasm around it. Increasingly, there's been good funding for it. So NFL, I think, has done a good job advertising for flag. It's an up-and-coming opportunity for female athletes. So there's support, specifically financial support. So each school that's, I guess, regionally would be granted a school startup kit to start up flag football, and we're in the process of getting that. Just down the road as well, I'm pretty confident it's an Olympic event this coming year, the following Olympic. So this is, I think, important to stay on the forefront of things that students could be interested in. And you never know down the road, like just the growth of the sport. For this coming year, the CVAC decided to organize a league. So there's going to be two divisions. Every school but one school will be participating. Two divisions, so the breakdowns, bigger and smaller schools will be participating with smaller schools, where I think it's important to allow dual athletes to be involved. Mariah and Taekwondo are in a similar position. The bigger schools could field their own exclusive flag team, but the smaller schools are still going to rely, at least this year, on dual athletes, and I'll speak a little bit more about that in a second. There's in terms of MVAC, we thought maybe there'd be more momentum, but Keene and Skern Lake are the only two moving forward. They're going to be part of the Division II league with us and some of the smaller schools, so that's exciting. And I've been leaning on Jake Riggins, who led Keene at least last year, or was involved with that. So he's been a good resource. So how I'm envisioning this project here, not so much a pilot, but a softer rollout, just in terms of what we've done. Preliminary signups, there's around 16 girls interested. 6 of them are exclusively flag. 7 have interest in softball. We have 2 tennis, and then 1 track and field. So those are the dual athletes indicated. Obviously, sports signup can be dynamic. It's kind of a moving target, but I really feel we have the interest and ability to field a successful team. Just how the schedule's looking, the CVAC proposed the league, so Wednesdays and Fridays would be games. What I'm working towards, that's going to be not so much a challenge, but what I really want to keep going is maintain the sustainability of the traditional sports, the softball, the track and field, also lacrosse as well. So what I'm looking for with the Fridays, and I think this would help maybe transportation and just other logistics, I'm encouraging the Friday games to be moved to Saturday mornings. 2 of the 4 schools that we've already been scheduled are receptive to that. So I'm going to follow up with other schools, but I really don't feel like that's going to be a challenge. So I really feel like logistically I'm capable of managing this and spearheading kind of the dual athlete involvement. I think it's important we're staying ahead of it, and I think we've had a good jump start with that. And just being in a newer, situation, other schools will be in a similar position and understand, schedulings get complicated in the spring. But I feel like I have good contacts and been on top of it logistically speaking. So that's kind of what I'm proposing. The coach is on board for the Saturday proposal, so I think that's going to be the best use of our time and resources. Just in terms of location, the oval space has been floated. I have to see if it's wide enough. I think it's going to be long enough, but just logistically, just making sure what's going to be the best move for us for our resources. And then also thinking about practice schedules. If a softball athlete has practice, what is it, Tuesdays, Thursdays, right? How do we allow for them to efficiently get over to the next practice as well? And I wouldn't be moving forward with this if the enthusiasm wasn't there. And I've kind of made it clear to the girls, like, yeah, it's a commitment, but I think that commitment's there. And I think it's important we, encourage that. And this is, student coming from the students. So I just want to sort of ride with that enthusiasm here. I spoke to the girls just about maintaining, so I called them in the auditorium, just the importance of maintaining the traditional sports and seeing where that goes. And also, keeping that at a high level. But if you are going to make that commitment, make sure, what's expected of you. Moving forward with jerseys. So again, jerseys, flag, I think it's a lower cost, right? There's not, it's not like we're getting ice time per se. So I think that's reasonable within the district. We'll see where things go this year. Maybe next year, the dual sport doesn't fully work out. I know Saranac Lake moved away from it this year. To participate in flag, you need 7 athletes. It's not like you need to field a football, like a full, male football team, 7 athletes, what were needed. But maybe we move the following year to more exclusive flag football. But I think it's important this year to do the dual sport offering as well. Some potential concerns here, just with other meetings here. The notion of parity, like are girls not getting enough opportunity? I don't think it's so much that, but it's providing there's enthusiasm there. It's not about equity, like do we need even numbers of male, female sports? I don't think it's so much about that, more a matter of being a desirable opportunity for the female athletes. And then should it be a focus, right? Should we put our resources in other places? For instance, another MBAC school felt, middle school boys should be more focused with athletic programming. But I think what's really important as a district, we're responsive to student needs. And I think there's some momentum we're seeing the CVAC, all the schools are jumping on, the MBAC schools, there's a few schools there. So I think it's important as a district, we stay up with that momentum as well. So that's what I have for you, and thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Knight.
Thank you.
Anybody have?
You're welcome.
Hey, Jeff, if you have one of the student athletes, obviously that's now the dual athlete. There's one, and let's just say this girl is signed up for softball and also for flag. Does one sport take precedence over the other if there's a conflict in scheduling?
Really good point. I think other schools have asked for, what's your priority, what's your secondary. I'm going to work hard to make it as clear cut or capable for they're able to participate, particularly in the matches. Practices might be another story, but just in terms of games, that's my responsibility, athletic director, to have as many girls as possible to these things. Just in terms of conflict, again, most of the dual sport athletes are softball, so that's I want to get as many people involved as possible. So making sure that's maybe the priority, not having overlap there. Looking at the lacrosse schedule, they do have some Saturday games, so that's they might have to miss a couple games, but otherwise, I think I can schedule around softball, I can schedule around track and field, and then tennis as well.
Okay.
So I'm confident I can
Thank you.
make that work.
What is the field size regulation? Is it typical football?
I think it's a little smaller. I don't think it's quite as wide, but I have the dimensions up in my.
Goal post needed or no? No extra points or anything like that? I'm just thinking of
Yeah,
traditional.
no,
football.
for sure. And that's a good, this is all it's new to a lot of us, but I really enjoyed watching the flag down in Keene, and just the excitement that it brought was pretty cool, and I want that for our student athletes as well.
No, it's great. It's great that you're willing to put that extra effort in to bring another sport on board.
Thank you.
It's nice too, Jeff, that your breakdown of girls who are interested, that we could catch 6 students that are otherwise not involved in spring sports, right? 6 would be exclusive to flag football. So like when we did our boxing program and had 20 kids that are not involved in sports, like the trying to capture that demographic. So that's nice. It's great to see.
All right, any other questions? All right, thank you. Mr. Knight.
Thank you.
Thanks, yeah, thanks for your time. Thanks for all you do. So I'm gonna cookie, I think.
All right,
And
next.
Jeff, you're welcome to stay or go at your pleasure.
You guys, you can keep it or recycle, whatever you like, whatever you like. That's all good. Yeah, thanks so much.
All right, next is reports to the board, starting with the budget performance report.
Yes, so looking at it, this is the standard in the last few times in terms of the formats. You look here, month end, January, really if you just look at the revenue insights, about 26% more we brought in this past month in January than at the same time last year. But all said, if you look at it, I'm not going to dig deep in all of this because I think it's pretty self-explanatory. Our revenue is slightly better than last year, but that's expected because the tax levy is up, and what I'm finding is actually we're receiving more of our state aid earlier than we have in the past. At least looking at how much has come in thus far from state aid. But otherwise, I mean, our revenue is trending where it needs to be, as it typically is. Month-end expenses, you'll see that. You'll see a big dip. In fact, Tim and I were talking about this from current year to previous years as to salaries and benefits and why there's such a dip. And generally speaking, these reports, they're month end, but it's all about timing. I mean, that's what typically what I say is timing in when things get expensed and when payrolls hit each and every month in the year, case in point. So when you look at this thing, oh geez, last year at this time, we had 1.5 million versus 833,000. When I look today, actually now the trend is we're on par. We're actually about $300,000 total above where we were last year. It's all about timing. When we have our check warrants, when payroll hits and all that. So if I was to give you an up-to-date one today, this would be vastly different because it's really just a snapshot in time when it gets uploaded to generate these reports. That's kind of across the board. You can see there that it says we're 38% less than the amount spent last year for this month. It's just about timing. That's what it is. Right now, we are trending about 3% overall from last year, about $300,000 difference that I looked at today. That's about where we should be because our budget is about 3% higher than what it was last year. So all of a sudden done, I mean, look at this is, this is a typical, month-end report for January when it comes to revenue expenses. There's nothing unusual here, no red flags or anything like that. Nice thing is with revenue, as I said, some of the state aid is coming in. It seems a little earlier. Our interest, the revenue that we had interest, the like $385,000 that we generated in the first half of the year. I budgeted 35,000. So we knew that was going to happen when we moved our money, all of our excess money into 9 class. We're generating more on our interest because we have $13-14 million sitting in our 9 class. That's getting over 5% rate of return.
Great. Awesome. Any questions on the report there?
I included a cash flow projection just because that's, nothing unusual here to document that you guys can review. There's no real changes. It just adds to actuals. It's just basically taking the revenue stuff and putting it on there, fulfilling our audit obligations. Right, sharing this each month.
So just blue sky, the terrible weather we're having, or terrible winter weather, I should say. It's quite pleasant early summer day outside. Should we hope for a reduced operating expense because of the mild weather? Like, I'm assuming we're not spending as much on like snow removal and
We would see
heating.
savings there because typically our outdoor crew will have to come in. That's generally overtime term. So yes, we will see some savings with overtime for plowing and stuff like that. Obviously with mild temperatures, we're not going through the fuel, as much. Right now, we still have a surplus in that budgeted line.
So just the blue sky, the situation that we're in.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
that's a silver lining.
Very much so, right. When you have warmer temperatures, we don't need to heat up the building as much, because warmer temperatures and yes, all of that.
You're gonna wake up here in like 4 weeks.
Exactly. Well,
Hoping.
Blue sky. I think at this time last year, we were looking at moving funds into the fuel accounts in anticipation because, it was a typical winter and all that. So right now, yes, that's not any conversation.
All right, well, maybe that'll work. Let's see.
That's
Let's see if I jinx that so we get the ground. Just not ready to put the skis away yet. I know. Thank you, Dana. The treasurer's report.
There's a report you'll see in the top, in terms of operating funds, about $66,000 there. We purposely keep it that low. And what we do is when a payroll happens, when we have a check warrant and we got to pay our bills, we just move money, out of our 9 class into the operating funds and or the cash sweep. So that's where you can kind of see, this is how we want it. We don't want to have a lot in our operating accounts. We don't generate any interest there. Or very, very low. We want our money in the cash sweep and we want it in the 9 class. So you'll see there that we still have about $15 million in our 9 class and then $1.8 million in the insured cash sweep. So that's where we want it and we move it when we need it. So that we can maximize our rate of return, for interest. So this is again, standard. Also with the receipts and cash disbursements, we only brought in about $261,000, but we paid out $1.2 million. That is not unusual for us. I said it before, 80+% of our revenue comes in by the beginning of November through property taxes. Throughout the year, we spend it down. So this is a standard, what you're seeing is a standard reconciliation for the end of the month. Surprisingly, we only have $200,000 of outstanding checks. So that's one of the lower ones. And again, that's always about timing when they go out, and usually the big ones are BOCES and all that. And oh, look at that. 164,000 of the 233 is a BOCES check. So they must sit on it. They must not want the money. I say that. Who doesn't want that?
I like the readout that actually has the payee in it now.
Yeah.
The page that's handy. I mean, I usually just guess that the biggest one is BOCES, but now I
Yes,
can
yeah.
actually see that.
And that sometimes it's a matter of what I give you guys in text. I get it every month and all that in terms of what you see, but yes, you can see there, like the ECA reports you get, you see that on the ECA reports all the time as well. So if you want to continue with that, it's easy enough to share.
Yeah, it's handy because it answers questions before you have them. So
Right, yes.
it's nice. I like that.
Again, all said and done in terms of the finances, we're still in a nice healthy position and all that. And great. The bank account's full. I don't know about that.
All right, so next is, sorry, thank you, Dana. Any other questions on the treasurer's report? Nope, all right, then we will move on to Tim's tirade.
Yes, and I'm not gonna yell this time because we have guests. So superintendent's report, we've been busy in addition to the President's Day holiday. CSEA negotiations are ongoing. And so that's taking up a bit of time just to be responsive to that process, which is going well to date. And just have been honing in on our facilities review, looking at our building condition survey and potential projects that need to be addressed sooner than later, and even beginning discussions of potential building project, items for the future. So that's taken up a bit of time. But there are still things happening across the district. We're in the midpoint of our athletic season here. Winter sports is waning. We're in the postseason or the near end of the postseason. So I do have a summary of some of those athletic contests. Our girls SLP hockey team made it to the Section 7 final, which is outstanding. Ultimately, they lost to Beekmantown, but congratulations to them for their season. Girls basketball beat Willsboro in sectional play, which was great. And then they did lose to Shazy in the sectional quarterfinal, so congratulations to them. Our boys basketball are playing Mariah in the semifinal tonight, so hope to hear good results out that way. SLP boys beat Saranac. You may have seen the story. So quite the comeback. So they did make it to the final and regrettably lost to Beekmantown last night. But had
Beekmantown's a problem.
Yeah, there's they draw a big regional contingent.
Yeah, they got a big team.
Yeah, but nonetheless, so really proud of our Bombers for all of that. And then our Nordic boys and girls had competitions at Van Ho. Aiden Fay, Colin Francis, and Max Fay. We're all participants along with Holly Aaronstone, Maya Garrison, Harley Cohen, and Nora Francis. And then in Alpine, we had Izzy Morganson racing yesterday and today at Whiteface. So students continue to participate in the postseason play, and simultaneously our signups for spring sports are happening. So they'll begin March 11th for varsity, the 18th for modified, and there'll be a information meeting coming up on the 7th in anticipation for that with Mr. Nemec, as he's done for each of the starts of the season, which are great. In addition to athletics, we're in the full week of Winter Carnival. Today was, I believe, Dynamic Duos theme. So I saw students dressed up like ketchup and mustard. I saw students dressed up like Velma and Daphne.
Can I send the marshal's bill to you? Is that? 6 o'clock. Yeah, it's-
A lot of participation, which is good. The theme as referenced before is tropical. So Thursday and Friday are, of course, our bigger days of Carnival. Thursday with opening ceremonies and coronation in the evening. And then Friday, a day of games at the elementary school and at the high school. And middle school students will be at Whiteface on Friday, so keeping that going. We're hoping to have our middle school students participate at Van Ho, but alas, the conditions have necessitated a more downhill approach. Musical is gearing up for the opening performance next week. So the cast is going to be performing Matilda. The board will have a sneak peek on Tuesday of next week. So we'll start our meeting, right? Hearing some excerpts from Matilda. And even though, some more of my time of late has been involved in sort of the back end office aspects between facilities and negotiations, I have had an opportunity to get in some classrooms as always. And I had a really great experience today I just want to share. Sometimes an anecdote can kind of paint a picture that's really beneficial. So I went into Mr. Gotham's economics classes today, and the students for the past 2 weeks have been learning about marketing and about consumer demand. And their task, after learning about the different ways that businesses try and stimulate consumer demand, was to find a way to favorably market our school cafeteria, and which was outstanding. So included in this, they had to come up with a slogan, storyboards, a 30-second video. They had to do an Instagram campaign, a marketing campaign. And so the videos, first of all, were hilarious. I mean, the kids did a wonderful job. And they worked with the entirety of the middle high school cafeteria staff, which was so cool to see. And you can see them all participate in the videos. And I just thought it was a perfect representation of our priorities as referenced in our strategic plan. So the project itself is a perfect example of project-based learning. That's something that we talk quite a bit about in the plan, promoting that to engage students. We have honed in on wellness as one of our 3 pillars of our plan, and that has led to greater fresh and locally produced ingredients for the cafeteria. And those were actually showcased in the videos, which was great. And another tenet of our plan is just that student voice will ultimately lead a lot of the growth that we have in the district. And so this just, this one project in one class, which happened organically thanks to the teacher and students, is like the perfect complement to so many of the values that we have. So I thought that was really encouraging. And I look forward to seeing, more things on this. That's my tirade.
In my notes, I always write Tim's tirade. Before it was Roger's rants. That was one of the criteria of hiring this. Had to have a good alliteration for this. Yeah. Among other things. Thank you, Tim. Any other questions for Tim? All right, next you'll see information for the board. We'll start with that internal quarterly report. Questions there, discussion.
And just 2 areas of reference there that, speak very briefly about, just that for the calendar for our next meeting, if you see anything that appears odd, please reach out to me. Otherwise, it's a pretty bread and butter calendar for next year that we're anticipating. And then if you take a look at the revised tenure form as well, if you have a chance, I highlighted in red some of the suggestions that we had discussed in the previous meeting.
Is everybody seeing the other ones? Because I had them earlier and at least on my end, it disappeared.
You get logged out.
No. I logged back in.
Are you seeing this?
I was earlier
Okay.
and now it's gone. All I see now is the internal report.
Well, the internal report was the only one that was
Yeah.
in public session. The others were in
Yeah,
executive
no,
session.
I don't know.
any other questions? Please forward them to Tim. That's since that one exec. All right, minutes for the board was, minutes of the board was on consent. That brings us down to personnel. Recommended action, approve the following items which are included in the personnel consent agenda: 7B spring coaches, 7C teaching assistant resignation, and 7D CSEA appointment custodian. Do I have a motion?
Yes.
Thank you, Colleen. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, John. Any discussion, changes? If not, then please vote.
Six yes.
Thank you. That. All right, so 8A was in, and 8B were both in consent. That brings us down to linking goals with agenda items. I'll throw in addition to students first and foremost, for most of your report there. First and foremost, students first and foremost in Jeff Nimick's presentation on flag football. And also number 5, we'll throw a curveball there, strategic goal number 5, technology. Ensure appropriate access, appropriate academic technology for each student to bridge the opportunity gap. I kind of thought that was a little bit related to Brendan Gotham's utilizing social media technology with his students to kind of give a real world feel to his lesson, which is good. Pretty sure when I was in high school, we were still using typewriters. So
None of them chiseled.
no, we had upgraded to the typewriters. Anybody else take typing as a course? Yeah.
I can hear what I was doing.
That's great.
On one of those old typewriters. Blink,
Yeah,
blink,
yeah.
blink.
Well, my school was, they were forward thinking in 1980s or whenever they bought these, but they got the electronic ones. So you had to type it
Oh, there
and
you
then
go.
hit enter and it would type the whole line. That's a skill that I never used again. After, never,
word processor on the one.
yeah, you could edit the one line and then you had to go. Dan's diversion or digression. There we go. All right. Any others? If you have any that you'd like to add, please send them to Karen. Brings us to our second, for the good of the cause. Do we have any?
We do not.
Hopefully we don't have a comment section online.
I have a quick question.
Sure. Go ahead.
So for the flag football presentation, if you guys were to approve that, would that be for this spring season or next spring season?
This, yes.
That's all.
Great. All right, so next meeting date and location, you'll see there, one very soon, next week. And then you'll see the rest of the budget work sessions as well, keep in mind, as we go forward there. Any old agenda topics? Any new agenda topics? All right. Then we will move into the adjournment phase of the meeting. Recommended action to motion to adjourn the meeting at 7:09 PM. Do I have a motion?
Yes.
Thank you, Doug. Do I have a second? Reed. We'll give it to John over here. All those in favor?
Aye.
We'll adjourn the meeting at 7:09 PM. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.